I think it's striking that the GOP is coming out early voting. I mean, that to me potentially shows how much loyalty Donald Trump has, because he's now saying, oh, no, go ahead and come out and vote. I mean, it's very hard to know how this is all going to end up. But I personally think that Harris has done some very interesting things by going on Brett Baer, people who might have doubted her. Uh, she stood her ground. She might even go do Joe Rogan. Trump is not going into hostile territory. He had a town hall which was pretty much packed with people that were his supporters, and saying he was the protector of women. I think that they are not, that the Trump campaign, he is doubling down on the bro culture and on immigration and on the language around that, I think, more than trying to go and convince people who are not already with him. That would be my estimation. She is going, and I believe trying to show that she can be the person that can overcome whatever doubts people have about the first woman president, and also doubts about whether they understand or know her well enough. These are things that have come up over and over. I think that her strategy probably is a stronger media strategy. How that all plays out, we're really just going to have to see.
Jane, you're an expert on politics and the media, and I'm struck by how in this campaign, remember in 2008, it was the internet election because the internets were new. This is being called, I think David Gura earlier in the broadcast called this the podcast election. Donald Trump didn't do 60 Minutes, and it might turn out that he didn't need to. But this Joe Rogan interview, for instance, could have a major impact on mobilizing bros, as you call them, and other young voters he's trying to reach. Are we resetting the deck on the must-haves, the must-dos when it comes to media in a presidential campaign?
Oh, I think that's such a great point. I think this could be the podcast election. Kamala Harris going on Call Her Daddy got a bigger audience that she might have gotten in many of the so-called legacy media.
That's right.
I will say that at the same time, one of the things that is happening is that the 60 Minutes interview Trump didn't show up for, and he's been out there saying and convincing a lot of people that somehow it's wrong that they edited it. She's trying, I think, to say that she's the one out there doing things. But to your point, I believe very strongly that podcasts are definitely playing a huge role. People are going to partisan podcasts. They're going to places where they are reaching out beyond their normal audience. I mean, that's why I think it was very smart for Kamala Harris to even consider and then go on with Brett Baer. That's cable. But the podcast audience is huge. They've been courting them. They've been trying to, if you go to the Spin Alley, the podcasts are definitely a factor in a way that they have not been before. And they tend to be partisan. Not all of them, but many of them reach an audience of like-minded people. And I think they've been a huge factor this time.
Well, that's a really important point, Jane. This isn't necessarily journalists conducting nonpartisan interviews in many of these instances. And when we consider the way in which podcasts, which are often audio clipped, many of them have a video component now, just parts of them are circulating on the internets, as Joe calls it, across social media. Many of these things are being consolidated, not necessarily put into context. How concerned are you by what you're seeing around media consumption behavior in this election, and whether or not people are getting access to the factual information that they need to inform their vote?
I think that this is the biggest question we face in media and politics. I mean, I will say, don't count out the legacy media. I mean, the fact that the New York Times put out their interview with Kelly immediately, the fact that NBC put out their interview immediately with Hallie Jackson, says to me that they also want to in any way answer the question of, you edited it, you did something, that is something that Trump has been promoting. Really, I think that it is an issue. It is an issue as to what kind of information are people getting. I think asking people to sort this out is more than we should be asking. I think it's a very complicated question. We should have fact checking, but it's very hard in real time right now when you have Donald Trump saying that, what he said previously isn't true anymore. And you have to go back and say, no, the media have to say, no, he actually did want to overturn Roe v. Wade. I mean, we're in fast moving environment. I think maybe after the election, we can try to look back at this and see what can be done to try to help people. And also, frankly, on the internet, check and fact check. I mean, under Elon Musk, fact checking is going away in many ways, and that is not a good thing.